I present to you all the Empire Strikes Back of the Avatar series. So if you guys saw a few weeks ago, I reviewed the first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Here is season 2. And just like in my book 1 review, there's going to be some spoilers in here. I'm not going to go super in depth, but there are going to be. I'm going to talk about the series finale. I'm going to talk about certain character arcs and certain plot points. So if you don't want that spoiled for you, just go watch the season, because it's really freaking cool. So where we left off at the end of book 1, the North Pole has been saved from the Fire Nation. Katara is now a waterbending master, and now her, Sokka, and Aang are going to find Aang an earthbending teacher, while Aang is also learning water. And that's where we start out with this season. Where we end with this season, entirely different. And first off, that's something I really like with this season. Like for the first season, in the first season they do bring up a couple of points to kind of change the plot a little bit, such as the comet. But for the most part, that season is Aang starts in the South Pole, they have to get to the North Pole to find a waterbending master, and that's how the season ends. They go to the North Pole to get a waterbending master, and they have to stop the Fire Nation. As the season starts out, they're looking for an earthbending teacher for Aang, but they find him a teacher in like the first 6 episodes, so that's not the overall plot of this season. And part of the season is Aang learning earthbending, just like the title of the season is Earth. But I find that this season in particular has so many layers, so many themes and statements and overtones. And I think it's really cool seeing the characters that we fell in love with in the first season adapting to those changes and those darker elements. The core trio, I still really like all of them. You know, we're seeing Aang develop more into the Avatar. What I like about Aang in this season is you look at the first season and he's Aang. He's fun, he's still a monk, so he's kind of reserved, but he likes to have fun, he's a kid. There's a couple times in this season you see a darker side of Aang. Halfway through the season, the gang goes to this library. They find out about the solar eclipse that's going to leave the Fire Nation defenseless, so they gotta go to Ba Sing Se, get this news to the Earth King. However, while they were down there, Appa gets kidnapped. And this isn't something that just gets resolved in one episode. Appa's gone for like 5 or 6 episodes. Appa is basically all Aang has of his old life back 100 years ago, and his friend, his pet, is missing now. So there's an episode in the desert where you see a lot of rage and anger come out of Aang, and you completely understand why. At no point are you like, okay, yeah, Appa is sad, whatever, but come on, Aang, bigger picture stuff is happening here. You're with him, you're like, we gotta get Appa back. This season also includes a couple of people that are gonna be big players for season 2 and season 3, one of those being Toph. Toph is a girl that these kids find. She's a really powerful earthbender, but she's also blind. And her blindness actually helps her with her earthbending because it forces her to listen to the vibrations in the ground, kind of like Daredevil does. In the episode when she's introduced, they're in this wrestling arena and all the wrestlers have Aang captured, so Toph goes in, faces all of them. That was a really sweet fight scene, and the fights overall in this season are way more exciting than they were in season 1, and I love the fights in season 1. Toph just brings a whole nother element to our team of heroes. You know, she's kind of pushy, she's a little tomboyish. There's a little bit of friction between her and Katara and her and Aang. She's a really cool and fun character. I'm really glad that she's part of Team Avatar now. This season also brings back a couple of people from book 1 that you think, oh, they're fun characters, but we're never gonna see them again. But the creators brought them back because some of them are fan favorites, one of them being Suki, the other one being Jet. I like what they set up with Suki in this season. You don't really see a lot of her, but you can tell she is going to come back into play in the next season. Jet is clearly not, but I do like what they are doing with Jet because he's trying to go to Ba Sing Se to start a new life with Smellerby and Longshot. And without going super in depth with it, what I really like about Jet in this season is that he feels like the victim. He feels like the victim in this whole war because the Fire Nation killed his parents, set him on this revenge path, and he realized he let his anger get out of control. That path wasn't right for him, so he's trying to start fresh. But some of his old ways kind of come back to him, and he never fully gets out of that war scenario that he's trying to escape. He ends up getting mixed in with Zuko and Iroh, gets mixed up with the Dai Li, and in Jet's final scene, yeah, Jet dies in this season. When Jet's laying there, I got that feeling like Jet, he's a good dude, he's a good guy. He really wants to start fresh, however, if a problem arises, he's not going to ignore it. And while in Ba Sing Se, Jet does cross paths with Zuko and Iroh. Like I said in my review of season 1, I love the relationship of Zuko and Iroh there, and it only gets better and better with each season. Zuko is still my favorite character in the show, and you see such a moral dilemma with him in this season. Throughout the entire season, Zuko and Iroh, they are fugitives of the Fire Nation. Ozai has commissioned Azula, who's Zuko's sister, to track down Zuko and Iroh. He's like, alright, these guys are an embarrassment to the Fire Nation. Just bring them in, we'll lock them up, no one has to hear about them again. And Azula, being this super deadly killer assassin chick, they're on the run from the Fire Nation as well as being on the run from basically everybody else. In this season, these two really only have each other, and it's really cool seeing Zuko come to this new appreciation of what he means to his uncle, because not too far into the season, Zuko tells his uncle, like, we don't have anything to gain by traveling together, I need to go find my own way. So there's one episode, it's just Zuko, he's in this like little dumpy Earth Kingdom town, but he's taken in by this one family, and he almost kind of starts to have his own life there. All the while, we are getting flashbacks of his past, and we're seeing how Ozai always favored Azula, how Zuko's mom was always looking out for him, but how Zuko was kind of the runt of the litter. But then at the end of that episode, the kid of the family, he gets kidnapped by some thugs. Zuko saves him, but he has to reveal himself as a firebender, as the prince of the Fire Nation. And immediately after that happens, I mean, Zuko, he'd been kind of starting to turn over a new leaf, but once he's revealed as a firebender, that whole town just turns its back on Zuko. So much happens with Zuko in this season, like he's kind of good, then he's back to evil, but he wants to be good. But the guy still trying to push him to the good side, that's Iroh. And Iroh in this season, Iroh's got some great moments here. You can tell he just wants the best for Zuko. Even though Zuko doesn't see that all the time, he gets frustrated with his uncle because his uncle is like, hey, let's just settle down in Ba Sing Se. There's nothing wrong with just running a tea shop. But Zuko's like, no, I need to capture the Avatar. I need to restore my honor. And it all really culminates in the season finale. It's called the Crossroads of Destiny. Zuko comes to this crossroads in his life, and what's really cool is this is actually foreshadowed in a previous episode. Zuko's having this dream sequence. There's one dragon on one side who's voiced by Iroh, and one on the other side that's voiced by Azula, and one's the good dragon, one's the bad dragon. But the same thing happens. They're in these crystal catacombs underneath Ba Sing Se, and Azula is telling Zuko like, hey, join me, we can bring the Avatar in together, you can have your father's love back. And Iroh's telling him, dude, Zuko, this is not the right path for you. This may seem like a nice path for a time, but in the end it's going to be unfulfilling. And so it is so heartbreaking to see Zuko take that dark side, going with Azula, trying to capture Aang again. And at this point, Iroh is full good. He fights off the Dai Li and Zuko and Azula. He lets Katara and Aang escape, and then he surrenders, and the look he gives to Zuko, it's just such a cold and condemning look. There's no real way to describe it other than just to watch it for yourself. Like I was saying earlier, this season takes these turns. Like it starts out where they're trying to find Aang an earthbending teacher, but then they find out about the solar eclipse at the library, so then they gotta go to Ba Sing Se to tell the Earth King. But then they find out that the Earth King doesn't even know about the war. His assistant Long Feng is basically pulling the strings like a puppet master, and Long Feng and the Dai Li, who are basically like the police of Ba Sing Se, they're running this city through fear and security, pretending that everything's okay and that there's no war within the walls. And so then you got this really cool dystopia with themes about surveillance, and Aang is struggling with this thing called the Avatar state. It's this thing we saw in the first season when his eyes and tattoos glow and he's able to summon a bunch of power. You find out a lot more about that in this season, and Aang is trying to fully master the Avatar state, but he can't do that because he has these earthly attachments. And then Aang is thrown into this moral dilemma, like, do I do what's best for the world? If I do that, I'm gonna have to let go of what makes me human, basically. Again, this season is just layers packed upon layers packed upon layers, and all while keeping it really exciting and really fun, having some cool bending battles. There's a giant serpent in the middle of the season. The Crossroads of Destiny episode is actually my favorite episode of the entire series. There's a really cool fight between Katara and Aang versus Zuko and Azula. All the while, Azula is running this coup to overthrow the Earth King. So the Fire Nation is basically taking control of the Earth Kingdom. Aang realizes there's no way for him and Katara to beat Azula, Zuko, and the Dai Li. So he finally realizes he has to let go of that attachment. He has to let go of Katara so he can control the Avatar state, so he can beat all of these guys. He quiets himself, he starts to meditate, and then it works. It happens. He starts floating up. All is right with the world, and then BAM! Azula shoots Aang through the chest with a bolt of lightning. Aang is dead. They just killed someone on screen in a Nickelodeon show. Oh, and by the way, if you die in the Avatar state, the Avatar cycle is going to be done. So Azula just killed the Avatar, like, forever. But thankfully, Katara has her magic spirit water. But for a second, Aang was dead. The season ends. The Fire Nation has control of the Earth Kingdom. Our heroes are now fugitives. They're hunted. Aang is alive, but he's passed out. He's unconscious at the end of the season. Azula won. Zuko is now like full evil again. Iroh's in jail. Suki's in jail. We don't even know what happened. Like at this point in the series, Suki might be dead for all we know. And Avatar Book 2, this was like my first experience with one of those second act Empire Strikes Back type of endings. This came out in 2006. At that point, I had seen the Star Wars trilogy. Funny story actually, I actually watched Star Wars and then Jedi and then Empire. So I didn't really get the whole flowing narrative thing. And I wasn't fully paying attention when I was watching Empire. But I remember this and Dead Man's Chest came out in the same year. Both had kind of that second act ending. So this was my Empire Strikes Back, where the first time I saw it, I was like, I don't know how I like that. Just like a lot of people were the first time they saw the Empire Strikes Back. When I first finished this season, I was just like, that's a terrible ending. That can't be it. What happened? But as time has gone on and I've had more time to think about it and I've grown up with it, I'm just like, Avatar Book 2 is the best season of Avatar that has ever existed. Just like The Empire Strikes Back is with Star Wars. I don't know what else I can say about this season. Avatar Book 2 is my favorite season of my favorite TV show. It is well worth your time. It's got a lot of cool themes, a lot of cool action. It's a really fun season as well. I know this video is running on, but I still don't feel like I hit everything that is awesome about this season. So the only way to do that is just to go watch it for yourself. But for those of you that have seen Avatar Book 2, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of it. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you can click subscribe and check out some of my other videos. I'll catch you guys next time.